Hello, folks. Welcome back to Ohio State Football with Scarlet Egg. Great here on YouTube. We have a fun, loaded show for you today. Johnny Bullet of Florida, Cory here to discuss the future of the Big Ten football landscape, probably in the whole conference, really, but as it pertains to you, mostly football fans here. So, as always, before we get into the show, I'd like to invite you to subscribe to this channel. Help us get to 2,500 subscriptions. We quickly passed 2,000. I very much appreciate that. Help us to get to 2,500 by season's kickoff. I really think that will bring more legitimacy to the channel, and we can encourage us to pump out more content for you. So thank you so much, as always, for doing that. Also, I want to make a quick plug about something. So getting into this video, we're all upset with the Big Ten. Most people are, or at least we're upset with Kevin Warren. He came out with some statements, right? He tried to cancel football last year. This year, he said, pretty much, I do it all over again. That's what no one wants to hear, right? Any husband getting caught cheating on his wife, honey, what is regret? It's pretty much, he said, remember, he's like, what is regret, or whatever the quote was. I do it all over again. I'm sure I learned from my mistakes, but I do it all over again. So we have a website through Teespring with some merchandise, www.scarletandgreatswag.com. If you want to go to that, you can look right down here and see the address. We have some fired Kevin Warren shirts. We have shirts like this title tee and stuff that I'm supporting, like you'll see with the branding over there up in the corner. But also we have some fire Kevin Warren, red and black, and we have some white, we have some gray. I think we even have some yellow print for you Hawkeye and Wolverine fans. And fire Kevin Warren, support the cause. The guy needs to go. So, all right, let's get into the landscape of this. Guys, quickly comment below, yes or no. Do you think we should, just why or no, should we fire Kevin Warren? Should he be the commissioner of the Big Ten? Cory, kind of lead us into what we're getting into today, because this all started, right, because of the SEC doing SEC things and continuing. You do. Like, I respected it after last year. After last year, when the Big Ten said, we're not going to play, and the SEC was like, oh, we're playing football.
Yeah,
nothing stops this train.
It's like the bodies lining up in the field, the practice field, and Nick Saban, and not gonna do it, not gonna talk about it.
Yeah. Why do you keep asking me about the dead kids? I'm not going to, so quit asking.
Ed Orgeron, I'll find another 30-40 and buy you there, like you said. So
right.
Like now they're usurping the Big 12. Let's be honest, Texas and Oklahoma are the Big 12, and not to say that other teams don't have flare-ups, like the TCUs and the Baylors of the world. They have flare-ups every now and again. They're pretty good. But Texas, Oklahoma are the markets. They're the big programs, the big kahunas of the Big 12. And the SEC is absorbing them, apparently. And there's some issues there, I guess some of the rumors are that the Big Ten was thought to be absorbing them at one time. And we told Oklahoma, this is a rumor with the Oklahoma, we told them no, and they're a package deal because they're not an AAU member. If that is true, I want to burn the entire Big Ten to the ground. I'm not even joking. I don't even know
what that means.
It means something that the Big Ten can hang their hat on and think that they're better than everybody else.
Go ahead.
No, well, it's amazing because they're taking the Michigan Notre Dame approach that we're not as good, but academically we're that's what they're concerned with.
And that's what I think, Cory. This is the big difference. And I know people. What I'm gonna say is a little bit hot takey, but it's also not. The SEC views itself as a football organization that happens to be fed by academic institutions.
Yeah.
The Big Ten views itself as an academic organization that happens to have sports. Technically, they are right. Technically, these are college, student athlete, right? Student comes first. All these different things. That's why everybody says, oh, TV markets and research departments and academics. That's what the Big Ten wants to focus on. Okay, I get that. But TV markets, right? That's sports. That's what you're focused. They are academic institutions first, but it's almost like, Cory, I don't see the harm in prioritizing sports. Like
Not when they're revenue driving.
Not when the revenue driving. Your academics can still be very good. So what? You graft in
Actually,
a few
you
schools.
could argue, and I talked to Kyle Lamb about this last night, very informed individual on the whole landscape, and he made a great point. He actually said the fact that the Ohio State's brand is so big in the sports world is what leads to higher academics, more people wanting to go to Ohio State, more people. The brand itself can actually help your academics indirectly that way, even if the money, that the revenue they drive is not necessarily going into academics and every dime of it. But that being said, the fact that you're out there, what is a bigger in the American football? What is a bigger driver of advertisement as a brand as being a great football program to get your academics higher? I mean,
Yeah.
Schools like Michigan in the past, anyway, Notre Dame right now, they're a good football program and have great academics. You can do both. You literally can do both. It's possible. You
Notre
don't have
Dame.
to. Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. You don't have to sacrifice academics to be. Ohio State's actually dramatically improved academically over the last 15, 20 years. You can focus on both. It's possible. Let's be honest though, and I'm gonna preface this because we're gonna talk about a few reasons, ways the Big Ten can compete. But Johnny, we got to preface this, right? We understand that there are conflicting reasons why these things potentially can't or won't happen, but these are more fan-based ideas, and it'll show that we need a visionary at the top of the conference.
Yes.
So we have to talk about the fact that yes, we want to. There is possibly we talk about Kevin Warren, but it's not just him, Johnny. These presidents.
Somebody appointed him, right? Somebody appointed him.
Exactly.
I heard it was Michael Drake that had a lot to do with that.
Probably.
And somebody made Michael Drake the president of Ohio State at one point too. So this points to right here.
The new president looks like a world beater compared to Michael Drake, Kristina Johnson. But I mean, look, an honorable mention of one of these issues is to fire Kevin Warren. He was asleep at the wheel while this was happening. I mean, let's be real. I mean, while this Texas Oklahoma thing was happening, I was told that he was one of the ones who didn't want the Big Ten to start the realignment, which is just like, are you kidding me? You don't mind canceling a season, but starting realignment to make the conference better, but we just can't have that. But the problem goes beyond him. The culture problem with the presidents in the Big Ten. Many of them just don't even care about sports at all. In fact, I keep being told that they're actually suggesting we may not play this season, not last season, this season because of the COVID surge.
Yeah, that's the variance. And Cory, so Jay Book had an awesome tweet. Like he thought outside the box a little bit, and he just said something. I don't know what it was, and we'll get to it later in point 5. But it was basically like, do we have to realign? Can we just focus on getting better? I don't know. I'm butchering what he said. And I said, yeah, that's all well and good until the Big Ten bans football because it's racist and violent, right? And because we have this culture problem where you don't prioritize it, where we're more interested in being woke.
We're not including females, and we're not including
right. Where the SEC is like, no, we're just out here to be really good at. We know what our cash cow is.
Yeah.
We're feeding into it. And then maybe that will make academics and stuff better, right? And instead, so Cory, anyway, what I wanted to say is you said you think maybe they don't care about sports at all. Somebody commented on my response and said, it wouldn't surprise me if a lot of these university presidents think it's a barbaric thing, meaning football, and want to get rid of it. And I was just like, that's kind of far-fetched, but at the same time, it's not.
No, it's not. And Rutgers, president, the Illinois governor, who's obviously the Illinois administration being the highest ranked in public employees and whatnot. These guys are all last year were saying, I don't care, I'm not endangering these kids or not. I'm not blah 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 this and that. And I'm like, as
if you're not endangering them to go get concussions, torn ACLs, and dislocated shoulders all the time.
They find different, very wokish reasons to not play. I mean, they were looking for any reason not to play last year, while other conferences are like, we're going forward. I'm sorry. In fact, last year when the SEC decided that they were going to go forward with this is when actually the South was seeing their biggest surge in COVID cases. So I don't know. To me, it's like, I'm not saying football has to be everything, but when you're trying to be competitive in this field, and it is a huge multi-billion-dollar field, you are trying to take the altruistic approach to things, and it's not because you yourself are altruistic. It's because you just have a view that football is just a barbaric sport, even though football offers more opportunities to people in low-income communities than I can even think of. So it's actually, if you want to take that approach with it, how many people does it help? So how many people does it change their lives completely? It doesn't just change that individual's life once they reach the pinnacle. Let's talk about it like a LeBron James or something. Like when they reach that pinnacle and they get to that level. I know he didn't go to college, but the sports,
yeah.
Look how many people he helps with his millions upon millions of dollars.
And what's his saying? Just a kid from Akron.
Yeah, exactly.
Just a kid from Akron without
look at Lamar Jackson being scolded for running routes on asphalt when Scantling's defending him, saying, "Hey, look, he's running these routes with these kids. They see him, they can feel him, they can touch him. They know that he's a real guy. They know that they can do it themselves too." I mean, it actually I can change my life with sports. So I know we're spending a lot of time on this. I apologize.
Well, how many kids have a degree that they wouldn't without sports?
Exactly. 100%, 1,000% accurate. But let's talk about the reasons. I mean, other reasons, the things the Big Ten can do to compete, even though they might not, because they are who they are. The very foundational problem, Johnny. This has got to be, the Big Ten East has to get better, consistently better. I don't mean like I have a year here and there. I mean they have to year in and year out win 10, 11 games, be almost. I'm not one of those Ohio State fans like, "Oh, I want Michigan better for the rivalry." That's not what I'm saying. I'm talking specifically to help the Big Ten.
Michigan, they're the brand. Yeah, they're supposed to be there. They're supposed to be there.
Exactly.
And this is like, this doesn't require visionary efforts, this, that, and the other. You're right. They just got to they got to hold Penn State and Michigan specifically. And for what it's worth, Michigan State doesn't need to be what they were they don't need to be winning the conference, but they need to be better. And
they need to go to a bowl game, and we know they can win.
Right. And I don't understand why. I'm starting to think a little bit, Corey. I'm starting to believe the COVID excuses a little bit, because it seemed to have plagued the Big Ten worse than other schools, and we had more strict protocols than other schools. However, then I look at Indiana and I'm like, Tom Allen doesn't care. No, he still made his team really good. But I'm starting to see it. But even before COVID, Penn State after 2017 just quit living up to the hype. Michigan after 2018 quit living up to the hype. Like it's, and they got to do a better job. And for what it's worth, I don't see Michigan getting better. I really don't.
Not right now. No,
not right now.
Harbaugh is who he is, and he's you said you call it 9-3 Jim or whatever you call him.
9-win Jim.
9-win Jim. Yeah. I don't even know if he can do that right now. So that's the thing is they just got to be better. And again, with the culture problem with the presidents that we know that how they thought during the COVID process, I don't know that they can get better. So.
Shoot me for saying this. In defense of Jim Harbaugh, in defense of Jim Harbaugh, he wants football to be a bigger deal than it was. Yeah, he's probably got the worst university president, I think, to deal with. Mark Schlissel, my goodness. Talk about a guy that...
We were defending Jim last year. We were saying, hey, this guy wants to compete. He wants to play. Maybe not the last game of the year, but he wants to...
He really wanted to go out and get beat. And Mark Schlissel... This is my shock face when you tell me Mark Schlissel would be fine with canceling football altogether.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah, so I will give him that. Yeah, this Big Ten East has to be better, feeds your previous point. Well, the culture's in their way.
Yeah. Well, what's the next thing they can do that they won't do? Swing big. Go for the Notre Dames, the USCs, UCLAs, Oregons, the Texas A&Ms. Put them in the conference. Get them.
Notre Dame is such a no-brainer.
Notre Dame's the biggest no-brainer. And I don't know if Notre Dame will do it. Everybody's TV contracts. Listen, this is a fan-based theory. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm saying this is what they need to do. Do whatever it takes to. This is what we talk about, having a visionary at the top of the conference. Do whatever it takes to get these schools. These are big market programs. With the new NIL laws in place, these programs could help your conference big, especially the Los Angeles market.
Don't tell me Notre Dame don't have academics or research either. Like, you know
I
what I
know,
mean?
exactly.
They're good at the spelling bees and everything else people want to cry about. So
By the way, USC is surprisingly a very good academic institution for what it's worth. By the way, and again, go after a few of these and add them. I mean, and just say, you know what? We'll see your Texas and Oklahoma. We'll raise you Notre Dame, USC, and Oregon. You know, I mean, that's USC with the new NIL laws that they get a competent head coach actually has a chance to be an extremely powerful P5 team now. Right now, I'd say they're more just above average, but they have a chance to be that again, be the USC that we know them to be.
Yeah, and Cory, I'm sure you would agree with this. They don't have a huge brand, but you would add Iowa State in there because it makes sense geographically and because they're emerging. You know, as a
We'll talk about
program.
them coming up. Yeah, what's
Okay.
likely to happen.
Okay.
Let's talk about next. You see the swing big as an obvious one. This one's not so obvious, and I know I got a little bit of pushback on this, but I'm not talking about this only being the only option, just an additional option. Diamonds in the rough. Look for thinking outside the box a little bit. SMU's in that Dallas market, UCF in that Orlando, Florida market, Houston, of course, you know. These are smaller schools and less conferences that have the ability, I think, the potential, if you put them in the right conference, to be an excellent program. Not to mention they help you with recruiting in Texas, help you with recruiting in Florida. You get your brand seen more. I'm not saying we're struggling in Texas right now, but you never know if Texas joins the SEC. So that being, I think that these are programs that you could add on to a USC or a Notre Dame or whatever, and get good value out of them. You know, those are, you got to start looking at all options. It's all out war and realignment in college football right now. You need to start looking at all of your options and look for teams that have that potential to be the next, not even necessarily powerful program, but second tier type program. I think UCF could be a solid second tier type program that wins 9-10 games every now and every other year in your conference or every couple of years in your conference.
If they get Big Ten credentials and they're already in Florida
and get that Big Ten money. Yep.
Scott Frost probably ultimately, he's like the Greg Schiano of UCF.
He goes back to UCF.
He needs to just be the coach there, but with Big Ten credentials, and then
beats Nebraska every year, which would be
right.
funny.
Yeah, instead of just getting small, fast 3 stars, he can bump up and get some 4s and recruit Georgia and Florida.
3 stars in Florida are like 4 stars in the Midwest sometimes. So
yeah,
I mean, look, I mean, I think those are just options. I'm not saying that. I mean, I got pushback from it. People, oh, this is you're going to have SMU versus Rutgers to combat Texas or Florida. Nick, no.
You're saying in addition to
these are investments, is what I look at them as, not things that immediately hit your bank account, but down the road could pay off big.
Okay.
So there's another one. How about this? This is one we can really talk about, sink our teeth into, Johnny. Leave the Big Ten entirely. Go into independent or join another conference. I saw some interesting things from Clemson fans that, man, what if Clemson and Ohio State teamed up for a mega conference? I'm like, do it now. I don't even want to think about it. Do it now.
And you may be more likely to get a Notre Dame to jump in there. But can you imagine? Well, you may have some tough issues, and we'd be making the argument at the end of the year that the SEC makes, like that. Hey, our 2 people battling out for the conference championship are better than the other guys. Mm-hmm. But if we're going to 12-team playoffs, then you can lose your conference championship game if it's OSU and Clemson and still make it. Yeah,
you won't even drop far in the rankings if you lose to a number 2 ranked Clemson. You're number 5. You know, it's like you won't even drop far.
It's a nice pickup. Bringing in Notre, you know, and then you look, you can have some matchups with Pitt. You know, I think you have to maybe pull Penn State with you if you do this move.
Maybe
just to have some good enough teams.
With the culture issue, would they even come? I mean, that's an issue.
I don't want to play an ACC schedule. I don't.
Not necessarily, but think about this, Johnny. And think about this. A combination of the above with ACC, Clemson, North Carolina, Boston College, FSU, Miami, Virginia Tech, and then you add Pittsburgh, Cincinnati, and Notre Dame.
If Miami and Florida State and Virginia Tech have the same problem, you know, Michigan State, Michigan, and Penn State have.
They're not consistent.
They need to bring themselves back to what they once were.
But they have the potential to be major players.
And if you have that visionary leadership, maybe it brings these conferences up, you know, so like you're talking about. So,
but make sure you just play the team up north out of conference, like FSU, Florida every year. At the end of the year, just play them out of conference, you know, so you keep the rivalry alive. Now, it doesn't mean as much as it's not a Big Ten rivalry, but it's still the rivalry, and it's still the game, and you still keep it. And if Michigan ever ups their game, it becomes much more valuable. But because right now it's basically to see if Ohio State can continue to win the Big Ten or not. That's
and for those that say I don't like this idea because they've always been the proponent of they wanted Notre Dame to join a conference before they can get in the playoff. That's a fine sentiment and all, but the world is going the other direction. The world is going the direction of 12 playoff teams, and they could not care less if you joined. That's what that tells me if you're in a conference or not. So, and granted, this is why I never had a problem with Notre Dame not being in a conference. It hurt them a few years when all these traditional good schools happened to be not very good that year. But if you're not in a conference and you're playing like Miami and Stanford and Michigan or Michigan State and who else they play, every year on that schedule, you're preparing for different conferences and traditionally good programs. Like you're still having a decent strength of schedule unless all those programs happen to be down. Yeah. We could do the same thing. I love getting out of the Big Ten. I love getting away from their virtue signaling. Everybody who knows me knows that's my least favorite thing. That's what the Big Ten likes to do. And so I would be and we could dirty recruit, but I'll say it, Corey. I'll just come out and say it. If we were in the SEC or the ACC or anywhere but the Big Ten, besides the folks in Birmingham probably loving to make an example out of Ohio State while they let Alabama fly, we could probably dirty recruit better. Find a church and funnel the money like they like to do in the South.
Find a church. That's right. Ryan Day could use his, mental health organization and whatnot to funnel money. No, kidding. But let's go to the fifth one. What the Big Ten's probably going to do? Nothing. Can you?
They'll probably add Georgia Tech because it's a good academic institution.
Exactly. It's like if they don't have Tech in the name, I don't want them.
Can I interject real quick, Corey, about that?
You can.
Just really quick. Everybody's at Big Ten TV markets. Academics, research, not so much sports. I get it. They are academic institutions first. They are, although the SEC is turning that on its head. And I think going to do what you said and Kyle Lamb said, they're actually going to make their academics better by prioritizing sports. We grafted in Nebraska not long ago. I know they love their football out there. I love Nebraska. I love Nebraska. TV market in Lincoln can't be that big. Secondly,
their fan base is huge, though.
But have you ever heard of anything any academic prowess from Nebraska, University of Nebraska?
I haven't looked it up. Maybe it's like USC and kind of surprisingly good. I don't
know. But I've not heard. The only person I know ever graduated from there, didn't even graduate from there, was just a fan, was Penny from Big Bang Theory, and so that's.
She did good. She married. She did good. Oh.
Yeah, she's a waitress at the Cheesecake Factory. Yeah. She did pharmaceutical sales. Yeah.
But I hear you. I hate to rip on Nebraska at all. But this is a good. Should they stand pat, do nothing because they can? The Big Ten, Ohio State can win the Big Ten and still make it. Yeah, maybe, but does it help the conference? Does it help Ohio State's prestige? Does it help Ohio State's brand? Not really.
You never want to sit still when other people are making.
Yeah, when other people are moving. Yeah, so I would say, but the Big Ten probably. But anyway, there has been some rumors. I want you to comment yes or no on this and give me your thoughts. There's a potential of adding Kansas, Oklahoma State, Iowa State, and West Virginia. That's not terrible. Kansas would add basketball for absolute certain. All these schools are okay basketball programs, except with the exception of Kansas, which is an exceptional basketball program. A true blue blood in basketball, but I don't want to add Kansas football. I mean, they're not even as good as Rutgers. They're bad. Oklahoma State's okay. The mullet Gundy, but again, the rivalry with Oklahoma might be.
There could be some fun football games. They could be Penn State, like Penn State level.
Iowa State's an up and coming program with Matt Campbell doing a good job there. West Virginia is one of those that could flare up once in a while.
Funnest road game and easier drive for Ohio State fans. Ohio State, we did that show with Kevin Noon. I love it. The people cracking off muskets in the crowd, raccoons running on the field, people just throwing.
Trent would have use for his raccoon hat. Finally.
Yes, Molotov cocktails of moonshine being launched. Exactly. Okay, maybe that game gets tighter, even though we're a lot more talented, and maybe they recruit a little better, being in the. So I think I love that. They love their football down there. The one that makes a lot of sense down here is Iowa State too, Cory. When people get into academics and research, like I believe Iowa State's in the city of Ames, right? Ames, Iowa. And Ames has got some there's something there, Cory, about the city and research. There's some kind of labs or something there. Comment below. You guys may know better than I'm talking about what's special about Ames and employment and research. When there was an economic article I read briefly, and listened to, and it was basically about when the unemployment rate got really low, places like Ames that had that central, hub of employment and labs and stuff, they were down under 2% in unemployment rate, and people were threatening to, it was a mess. But Ames brings the stuff you're looking for. The research, I think Iowa State makes sense for those who want to push academics. Iowa State really does. And then, like you said, it's up and coming. Matt Campbell's doing a nice job out there.
Yeah, absolutely. We went along with this video. We apologize for that, but it's all to talk about, a lot to unpack here. So, guys, give us a comment, yes or no, if you're happy with us potentially adding those 4 that we talked about. But also add a comment what you just think is going on anyway. I mean, what do you think about what's going on anyway? What do you think is going to happen, realistically or unrealistically? What do you think we should do? As always, guys, like the video. We appreciate you guys. Subscribe if you can. We'll continue to bring you good free Buckeye content, good discussion, a lot of fun coming forward, especially with the season on the horizon here. Johnny, why don't you take us out, buddy?
All right. Remember to get you some Fire Kevin Warren merch at scarletandgreatswag.com. Thank you so much for joining us. As always, goodbye. God bless, and go Bucks.